hasn't Chicago, with everything that is thriving there, become a tech hub yet? And what makes you think this can change that?
Well, our new P33 effort is really exciting because it's a private sector effort, as you said, of about 150 leaders from established businesses, from tech companies, from our universities, from our nonprofits, and our civic committees have joined together to really work on the issues that are facing Chicago. We have extraordinary assets in our city, 4 major universities just right within the city, whether it's Northwestern, University of Illinois, University of Chicago, IIT. We've got amazing talent. We graduate the second number of students with computer science degrees of any city in our country. We've got a lot of capital available. We've got a diverse existing economy. As you said, we're the 3rd largest economy in the country. But today, what we recognize is we're not punching at the weight we'd like to be punching at. And what we know is if we come together, we can focus on the challenges that we face.
So how do you convince tech grads, tech workers to stay in Chicago when they could easily leave for Silicon Valley or New York, or even second-tier tech hubs like Boston or Austin?
Well, I think much of our talent and many of our graduates want to stay here in Chicago. The question is, are we creating enough opportunity? And in order to do that, we need to create greater bonds between our established businesses and our tech companies. If you think about most tech innovators, they're dying to have the major corporations in Chicago as their customers. We need to build bigger bridges there. We need to help more our universities commercialize the great innovations that are coming out of their laboratories. We need to do more to innovate ourselves, and all of that excitement builds on itself in order to keep more of our talent here, so that an innovator thinks, I can start a company here. I can have access to capital, I can hire the talent I need, I can build a business for the long term here in Chicago, and that's exactly what we're working on.
Chicago is on the short list for Amazon HQ2 and, potentially 50,000 new jobs. What do you think the likelihood is that Amazon chooses Chicago?
I've been very involved in that effort, and I'm always an optimist. None of us know at this point, but basically that would be a great boost to our city. But we can't wait for Amazon. We're going to take on the initiatives that we're talking about in P33 with or without Amazon. And I think that they recognize all the strengths that I've pointed out, not including affordability and the fact that they can find the talent they want and need here, and that Chicago is such a great connected city. So these two initiatives exist side by side. There's a symbiotic relationship between them, trying to get Amazon and the P33 initiative. But we're moving forward regardless.
So, given your involvement, what are the questions that Amazon is asking? What is it going to come down to for them in making this decision?
Right now, I think they've gathered the information that they want and need, and now I think they're busy assessing it.
So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the broader market and the broader business. Obviously, this is something that you follow very closely. We're in the middle of a trade war. What do you see in terms of the cascading impact from that on tech and business more broadly?
Well, I think the trade wars that we've initiated are very challenging on a number of respects. I mean, we're seeing growth today, but now you've got the IMF saying they're expecting the United States growth to slow next year. They're expecting global growth to slow, and they're pointing the finger at trade issues. You're seeing a number of our global manufacturing companies saying they're being challenged already by the tariffs and the trade issues that are being raised. So this is a real challenge. I'm a big believer in multilateral trade agreements. I'm a big believer that you want to have more and more of the world's countries and global GDP all operating with high standard trade agreements. And I think that one of the challenges that comes also from the trade wars is the rhetoric. And it allows us to focus on trade, which I think is an issue, but frankly, I think the bigger issue is really helping more and more of Americans adapt with workforce training to be able to take advantage of the technology opportunities that are being created. And I think the past tax bill, we missed an opportunity to incent corporations and companies to spend more and invest more in workforce training, which is, I think, frankly, a big part of the angst in America, much more so than trade is.
So let's talk about the rhetoric. The president has taken aim at Amazon directly, which might be one reason Amazon may avoid Washington, D.C. as the location for HQ2. Today, the president took direct aim at Twitter, claiming bias, in fact, calling Twitter a total blimp, because he believes that a bunch of accounts have been eliminated unfairly. How does the relationship with the administration and Silicon Valley today differ from the relationship between the Obama administration that you were a part of, and how will that impact your efforts to turn yet another city into a thriving tech hub?
Well, I think one of the opportunities that we tried to capitalize on in the Obama administration was really building stronger bonds between the Silicon Valley, Silicon Alley, the fintech sectors and others, and Washington. There's a real need for greater communication and greater efforts. And for example, take what's just happened this week on privacy. You've seen the tech sector come together to say, we need more privacy legislation and regulation. And I believe privacy is a human right, and we do need legislation. And now you're seeing the tech sector saying, rather than the federated approach where you're having Europe come up with their own privacy rules, California come up with their own privacy rules, clearly China has another set of rules, India a different set, that there really ought to be more coherence in privacy rules. That requires communication that goes on between the federal government and the private sector and our tech sectors. So I think there's a real opportunity for the administration to jump on the ideas that are being proffered by the tech sector in terms of privacy. That would be a big step forward.